Today, I want to talk about how to evaluate high growth stocks. I got a question in my email from one of my subscribers who shared his portfolio of stocks with me, and he was concerned because he was not performing very well compared to the S&P 500. And he was wondering if he should add some more high growth stocks to his portfolio of mostly large dividend paying stocks. And since this channel focuses on growth stocks and how to grow your money quickly in investing, I'm young, I don't have a ton of money, and so what I focus on with my investments are these high growth stocks. And so if you are young, if you are a young person and you don't have a ton of money, if you have under $100,000, under $50,000, if you're investing with your first $1,000, pretty large range there, 1,000 to 100,000. But really, if you're anywhere in that range and you're trying to grow your money quickly because maybe you have aspirations of being a millionaire before you retire, or you might have some big plans for your money, but high growth stocks is one of the ways that you can really supercharge your investing. So I wanted to make this video. I've laid out some areas that I look at when I'm evaluating high growth stocks. And I think it's going to be helpful for you as an everyday investor. So make sure to watch to the end of this video. And at the end of the video, I'll show you guys my high growth stock portfolio that I am contributing to every single week. And I'm trying to grow that account to $1 million in the next 10 years, which sounds very ambitious. But if I don't get there, that's okay. But that is my goal, is to grow that account from what it is now, around $25,000 to $1 million in the next 10 years. So here are three things. We have three things that I want to talk about today when you look at a high growth stock. And the very first thing that we're going to talk about is, what is the growth story? So any growth stock you look at, it makes sense, it's intuitive, but what is the growth story of that growth stock? So the number one thing you're going to do is you're going to research the company, and you're going to you need to understand, what does the company do? They're either going to make products or they're either going to provide a service. So you need to understand, what does the company do? What are the products they make? What are the services they provide? So that is just a fundamental investing thing in general. I never recommend you invest in something that you don't understand what it is. So that is crucial. So once you understand what the company does, we're going to look at the products and services, and we're going to ask ourselves, is there anything about them that is proprietary, innovative, or disruptive? What makes this company unique? What makes their products unique? What makes their services unique? And really, this is hard to do, but it's all research, guys. It goes into research. You can look up the company's website. You can go to their Wikipedia. You can read articles of other stock analysts who analyze the company. Do a lot of reading and a lot of research, and really boil it down to, what makes this company different? What are they doing? What's unique about their products or services? So once we've done this, once we've identified what's proprietary, innovative, or disruptive about the company, we're next going to ask ourselves, okay, this growth story we've put together for this company, is it believable and is it easily understandable? So for example, let's think of a company right now, let's say Tesla. What is the growth story of Tesla? Well, they're trying to make cars that are self-driving. It's pretty understandable, but is it believable? Well, I don't know. And that's where this growth story comes down to you as an individual. You have to ask yourself, is this something that is believable? Is this something that other people can believe? And I would say 5 years ago, that self-driving cars weren't necessarily believable. But nowadays, we're seeing videos on YouTube of people falling asleep in their Teslas, and the car will continue to drive for them without any issues. And so, believable and understandable, these are subjective things. And really, these first two things are subjective, and I'll get down to that later. But the third one is really where we get into numbers. But for now, these are subjective. And I might think one thing and you might think another thing. And that's why picking high growth stocks is not the easiest thing in the world to do, but if you guys follow these 3 steps, it makes it a lot easier. So is it believable and is it easily understandable? The next thing we're going to ask is the growth story compelling? Is the growth story something that is going to get people excited? You can say that here's this amazing growth story, but is it really going to get people excited? Are people going to care? Because it could be the most amazing growth story in the world, but if it's boring and no one cares about it, and no one's going to write articles about it, then no one's really going to know about it. A good example of this is, the compelling part of this is the Virgin Galactic stock, SPCE, space, that's the ticker symbol. The growth story on that is space tourism, space travel, selling tickets for people to go on these spacecraft up into the outer orbit and see the stars and be in space. That's a compelling growth story. That's really cool to think about, and it's something that people are going to write articles about. Now, is that believable and it's understandable, but is it believable? I don't know. I don't think so. But anyways, I'm kind of getting off track a little bit. But you guys can see how once you come up with a growth story, you really need to ask yourself these three things. Is it believable? Is it understandable? And is it compelling? Those are the three things you need to ask yourself. And then the other thing is, does it fit into a larger growth trend? Is this something that's seasonal or cyclical? Is it gonna, go up and then come back down? Or is this something that's really gonna keep going up and up and up and up? For example, data centers, the cloud, things like that. Everything is moving to the cloud. And so there are a lot of companies that are capitalizing on this cloud growth story, larger growth trend. So does the growth story of this stock fit into a larger secular long-term growth trend? So growth story is very important, and that is the number one thing. That's why I put it number one up here as the first item on the list. So talked enough about growth story. Let's go ahead and move on to leadership. And leadership is really important, and it's something that I've noticed with these high growth stocks that I own. The high growth stocks that do the best typically have a leader who maybe is out there in the headlines, or is very unique, or is something, people know their name, and it helps for that leader to be out in the open and really the face of the company. That's what I've noticed. So there's three things that I've come up with for leadership that I've noticed in these high growth stocks, and that is passion. Do they care? Do they care about the company? A lot of times what you see in these older companies, that are maybe 30 years old or 50 years old, or they've gotten very large, is they just hire a CEO. The CEO comes in, does a bunch of CEO type things, collects their paycheck, and says, see ya. Do they care? A lot of times I've found that the best leaders of companies are the leaders who have been there from the beginning. Maybe they founded the company, maybe they've been there since it IPO'd, and they really are invested into the success of the company. And I'm gonna bring up Tesla again. Elon Musk, I don't know how you feel about him as a person or, as a leader. However, he cares a lot about Tesla's mission, and he's willing to put in the work to make sure that Tesla stays afloat, to make sure they don't die. I read an article where he worked 120 hours a week, and he slept in the factory when they were going through the Model 3 production, because he cared so much about the company and he believed so much in what the company was doing. And that's passion. Okay, that's super important for these high growth companies. Maybe they don't have a lot of resources maybe, and so it really hinges upon them executing and, So passion is very important. The other one is vision. What is the plan? What is this leader's plan for the company? Do they have a compelling vision? Do they have a strong vision? Can they, steer the ship in the right direction and get it where it needs to go? And so that's vision. And the thing that kind of follows vision, I guess, is capable. Can they execute? So can they steer the ship in the right direction? And then can they keep it moving forward? Can they execute on what they say they're going to do? And a good example of this is Lisa Su with AMD. So she came in as the CEO of AMD and really turned things around. She had a strong vision for the company, but she excelled at the capable aspect of this. She just executed very well on the company's goals and is bringing AMD back into the company that it used to be. And so leadership is one that's very crucial, and it's one that people don't realize. Think about Amazon with Jeff Bezos. That is a perfect example of strong leadership, good leadership. So you want to research the leadership, the CEO of the company. What have they done? Why do they care? How are they going to continue moving this company forward? And all of that goes along with what I just said: passion, vision, capable. So those are 3 things you're going to look at for the leader. And then the third thing, and this gets into more of objective numbers. And I put this last because high growth stocks do not always have the best numbers. And so you can look at a high growth stock and you can say, well, they're not profitable and they have a ton of debt and they're this and they're that and they're way overvalued and this is a terrible investment if we look at the numbers. But then people ignore, the growth story, and they ignore the leadership. And so the financial part, the numbers, it's very important to look at, but I put it last because sometimes you can ignore it and still invest in a company and have it be a good investment. Okay, so financial. I have annual revenue growth. So how revenue is the total amount of money that the company makes before any expenses are taken out. So are they actually increasing the amount of money they're bringing in? That's the most important thing. We're looking for companies with very high revenue growth. Every single year they should be bringing in a lot more money than they did the previous year, because really that at the end of the day is what growth is. As a business, are you bringing in more money year after year after year? So the next thing we're going to ask is, are they profitable? And I put a question mark because they don't really need to be profitable for you to invest in them. A lot of these companies are taking all of their revenue and investing it back into the business. Let's look at Shopify as a perfect example. Shopify could have posted a profit in 2019. However, they acquired other companies to help build their business and make them a stronger business. So I think they spent $600 million on 6 River Systems, which is an automation and robotics company, because they're trying to compete with Amazon. And so I'm perfectly fine with Shopify spending $600 million on acquiring a company that's going to make them a better company in the long term, instead of simply saying, oh, we made $600 million in profit and not doing anything with it. So I'm okay if high growth stocks are not quite profitable yet. But if you see a small company that is profitable, that is a huge advantage. That's something that I say, wow, here's a small company that has big revenue growth and they're finding a way to be profitable. So I look at that as a positive thing and an advantage if a small company can be profitable. So the next thing we're going to look at is debt levels. And this is important because debt can sink a company. It can cause a company to go bankrupt. If you're thinking about a company as a boat, and let's say a boat is floating in the ocean, smaller companies are very small boats. And when they have debt, it's like you're poking holes in the bottom of the boat. And we don't want the boat to sink, because then the company goes bankrupt. So too much debt means that they're taking on water. They're taking on water and they're sinking. And if they don't figure out something quick, then they're going to go completely under and they're going to go bankrupt. This is actually one of the big reasons that I was not an investor in Tesla until last year, because they just had too much debt and not enough profitability. And I was not a huge fan of the financials of Tesla, even though I believed in the growth story. And I was kind of iffy on the leadership, to be honest with you. But now here's the last thing, the rule of 40. And this is something that venture capitalists use when they look at very small companies. And what you're going to do is you're going to take the annual revenue growth as a percentage, and you're going to add it to the profit margin. So let's say that you had a company that had a 50% Annual revenue growth, that means they made 50% more money than the previous year. And then let's say they had a profitability, a profit margin of 10%. Well, that means that they would have 50 plus 10 would be 60. So that is over 40, which means that this is a check mark. That is good. That is a approved. And so that is a kind of a handy rule that you can use to evaluate the financials of these high growth stocks. So there you guys have it. I hope this video has been very helpful to you. I hope you've learned something. Again, the three things are growth story, leadership, and financials. Those are the three things I look at when I am evaluating high growth stocks. If you guys want to subscribe, go ahead and hit that subscribe button, and go ahead and hit the like button so other people can find this video on the YouTube universe, because I think it's a great video and I think a lot of people would benefit from watching it. So go ahead and hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys later. Thanks so much.